Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our XR Weekly News. And Tim, do you have any news to share?
I do. I'm going to start with an article about Leica Geosystems, and they're using augmented reality to and mixed reality to help train firefighters so that they are safer and more better prepared when they enter a life threatening situation. A lot of times when firefighters go into a burning building, they don't have much information about the building. And so this also can put some information heads up for them, the ability to understand more about where they're at and kind of materials that are in that building and even layouts of things. It can give them superhuman ability so that they can visualize their surroundings and track personnel as well, so that they can keep each other safe in a fire. It also gives the ability to do realistic training. So you can do training and model the fire so that it does things that you would expect it to do in VR. So you can have those experiences and build up that experience a lot quicker. And then you can do pre-incident planning. So start to understand what types of risk areas are involved, and then have a plan for that when you're not trying to make a plan kind of in a critical moment. It's really interesting that the Corona Fire Department is the one who's actually partnering with Leica for this. To be able to provide this additional information to keep everybody safe is really, really important. I know we've talked a lot about AR training being a really great use case. And I think this one um, is just a win-win for everybody because the firefighters are better prepared. It gives them tools to keep them safe, and then ultimately helps save people's lives and property through the version of that. They can create a virtual twin or digital twin of the fire tower, the training fire tower, and track all of the firefighters through that training system as well. And then they can start to do 3D modeling of, where people went and where they could have gone and start to give some feedback about ways that can go better. Again, just to go through some of the things that it can do is visualization of floor plans so they can see things, help them avoid things such as high voltage or electricity and fall risks. Sometimes, when the smoke and stuff, it's hard to see, so that gives them the ability to know that when there's a danger there. Localization and real-time movement of an individual firefighter and then all of the other firefighters in the facility so that they know where they're at. And then the ability to do tagging and annotation to drawing so they can see what the interior exterior building looks like and then make notes before they go in, so that they can communicate together. And I think this is a really great use case for training for augmented reality, and I hope to see more. I know there's a lot of really important, fires are super, super hot. So, from a gear perspective, from a hardware perspective, there's have to be a lot of changes. But I see this incorporating to heads-up displays and things like that when firefighters go into a burning building.
Yeah, I think this is really good because AR augmented the fire and the situation. And by wearing that gears, you can see like the fake or like the simulation
Yep.
without the actual, the actual setting on fire because it's very dangerous to really mimic that. The physical fire is more dangerous than the virtual fires, like
Yep.
particle system.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this is like a very good way of kind of like making the entire training happening. Yeah. So what types of headset they are using? I'm just curious. Mm.
I don't think it said which specifically brand of headset they were using.
So maybe yeah, it's interesting. It's just yeah.
They're just using the Leica Geosystems
Mm.
underlying software to help build and track and those types of things.
Yeah, yeah, because I saw the glass looks like a I don't know XRAI or some
Mm-mm.
like a lightweight. It doesn't feel like it's like a quest or
Mm-mm. No.
yeah. I don't think it's like a quest. It's more like a lightweight. Yeah, yeah. I saw that. Feels like a yeah, interesting.
Yep. All right. The next one is Pico came out this week with waste trackers. So to offer standalone body tracking, they already have leg and ankle trackers so that you can understand what leg movement is. I know we've talked in the past about how important it is to be able to track a person's full body. Remember the old Meta Horizons no legs issue where, everybody was weirded out because they didn't have legs. That locomotion and kind of be able to keep in sync with a natural movement is really, really important. And you can also start to do some really interesting things like fitness applications, and you can see body positioning and making sure that people are doing the right things. I know that I'm playing a lot of golf right now, and I would love some help with my golf swing and how my body positioning is during my golf swing. So I think we'll see a lot of really interesting use cases for this. Dance is another one. The ability to kind of track dance movements and make sure that you're matching the instructor or the challenger, as it were, if you do a one-on-one dance battle with somebody. So this is also, a competitor is the Sony Mokopai, I think is how
Mm.
it's pronounced. But these full body trackers, I think we're going to see more and more of those and more use cases as the data becomes available.
Yeah, so for this one, I saw the like it's kind of pair up with Pico. Does it pair up with like a Meta Quest, or it's just like a device only, like Pico device only?
Yeah, it definitely tracks on Pico. I didn't see
Yeah.
any. You can use it in VR chat.
Oh,
There's been people who are using it already in there.
yeah.
Um, it also supports in Blade and Sorcery, Les Mills Dance, Racket Club, and then PC via the built-in Pico
Mm.
Connect. It's really, really accurate too. It's got an average error of 5 centimeters.
Mm.
So it's really, really close and accurately of not less than 98% for stepping actions.
Mm.
So you're really starting to tie these sensors together so you get a better and more accurate picture.
Yeah, I think those like a sensor. I remember before I worked for mocap company. They were like you need to wear a mocap suit, and they
Hmm.
have sensors. Like I remember 12 sensors, and one is your belly.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like a torso. It's pretty much all the kind of like sensors. It's positioned on your joints. So
Yep.
it and especially because when the headset tracks, the top part is easier and the bottom part is very hard to see.
Hmm.
So all those sensors will use, I don't know what's that, but probably Wi-Fi to sync with your headset. So those headset will be kind of like it's just like a signal and more stronger than using like a camera to see that angle. So it's just like there's a signal keep sending information, and by putting those, it's pretty good because um, the thing I remember the mocap company I would say probably 6 years ago, the problem is that sometimes your leg is left in the front and the right in the back for those like a kind of overlay.
Yep.
Sometimes the headset couldn't detect those like overlay, which one is front, which one is back.
Hmm.
So I think if Pico or Mocapi, if those can kind of like have like a pretty strong like I don't know like a computing system that
Yep.
can understand like in the spatial which one is where, maybe have
Yep.
a world kind of like a kind of like a XYZ and make sure those positions. So yeah, so I think those are pretty good. Instead of buying like a 4,000 like a mocap suit,
Yeah.
it's just like I think like a 60-50 dollars. Definitely those can helps. And VR chat, I remember long time ago, I I was like working on a world in VR chat. I think I saw a lot of people post online, a lot of tutorials. How can you have full body tracking inside VR chat? And a lot of tutorials is that you wear like the mocap suit and you have a green screen. It's like there's a huge setup for you to have full body movement inside VR chat. But now with those like a simple device, you don't need the entire thing. You can just yeah just have those like a simple wearable device. I think those are good. I'm wondering why Meta doesn't have those. Not yet.
Yep, not yet, I suppose. I bet they will eventually.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Cool.
All right, next article, kind of late breaking news at the end of the day, Friday, early yesterday, with the tariffs. President Trump enacted a 145% tariff on products from China. On Friday night, he sent the guidance that phones, computers, and chips would be exempt from the new tariffs. So things like iPhones and such like that will not be tariffed at the same rate. So his rationale for doing that is to give manufacturers time to get their logistics together so that they can start to have those products built in the United States. But I think we'll see a lot of piecemealing, I guess I'll call it for lack of a better word, of the tariffs and exemptions, and there's going to be a lot to keep track of individual products and what all that looks like kind of going forward.
I just see those types of gesture as untrustworthy. I don't know. It's just like a every second, every 10 minutes you change, and every
Hmm.
change is for your like for your friends. Basically. It's like you I don't know. It feels like the people who is leading the country doesn't really taking care of people, the majority of people, but taking care of the tycoons.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of revenue, a lot of phones that are imported, so it makes sense. I will be interested to see what other things get exempted, but this is, should have a direct impact on phones and Apple Vision Pros and Meta Quests and any other kind of computing hardware that comes across. It doesn't say specifically XR, but all of the components of XR
Mm,
are going to be exempted, so
mm.
it makes sense that in whole that those would probably be exempted as well.
Yeah, I just don't know. I feel like it's like he I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of. Things are changing a lot.
And can I mean I remember when you wanna do something, you need to get through a lot of procedure, right? And
Yep.
a lot of discussion. And this is such a big thing. So why he can just write like I don't know, executive order? Is there any restriction? Maybe like a 3 months you only can get one executive order, like a limitation.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think as long as it's executive orders, he can do what he wants to. But I think he's done research and understands what the limits of his power are, I guess, if that makes
Chat
sense.
GPT research.
Yeah, I don't know what he did it with, but yeah, I would do it with Chat GPT, that's for sure. Yeah, so things are changing. It's just a very fluid and dynamic situation with the tariffs, and we'll have to see what happens. Software not being tariffed because it's not a physical good is interesting as well. So
Hmm.
things to think in that area, just kind of as things go.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. When I first time like a few weeks ago, I saw like the rice. I all I care is like a rice, soy sauce, like a Asian food types of like a price. I saw Japanese rice or some Asian rice is 700% more expensive than your current buying like
Oh wow,
before. And I was like, wow, a bag of rice is 34 or like some
yeah,
like 25, those types of price. You need to times seven in order to eat the rice that
yeah,
a noodle probably the same because the noodle is from Japan, from somewhere.
it's physical good. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. Interesting
Interesting.
times we live in right now. Um, okay, the next one I'm going to go to is Google showed off new AR glasses and VR, a VR headset at TED. This was last Tuesday. They showed off a prototype of the glasses that combine a miniature display with Gemini AI assistant. So if you think kind of the Quest glasses with the built-in AI, this is kind of what they're doing as well.
Mm.
Again, I think it's interesting, and there's a lot of things to be learned in these different form factors with different functionality. Everybody who clearly wants to get to this, XR glasses or augmented reality glasses that you can walk around with. Huge energy consumer by presenting um, information in a well-lit environment. So it just takes a lot of energy. And then the computing power on top of that. It's just going to be a while, I think, before we get there. But it is interesting to see all the different experiments that people are doing.
Yeah, I think Android, Apple, and yeah, like a Meta, they are very, very, I don't know, they are probably doing the same thing, and each one, each of them's like feature influence each other. So,
Yeah, and Google's still being a little bit elusive about their plans on that. When I reached out for comment, there was not a Google representative available to make a comment about what is going on. But they're trying to compete with Meta's existing glasses, the Quest platform, as well as Orion, which will be coming soon. So. It's just figuring out how to get to the right manufacturing of that, the right balance of battery life with computing power and keeping it cool because they get hot as well. But all those things will consistently get better. It used to be a computer filled the size of a room. Now everyone's got one that was way more powerful than those in your pocket. So it's just a matter of time. Everybody knows we're on the right path. It'll just be a matter of time before we get there. But again, I think we talked last week about, it's been Google and Apple kind of in that market, and if I'm sorry, Meta and Apple in that market, and if Google kind of gets their hat in the ring as well, it'll be a three-horse race. So, I think Meta is way ahead. I think everybody would say they've just invested so much money and time and learnings. They're just in a really great place for the future of XR. So that second place, being the second lead company, whether it's Google or Apple, is going to be a really interesting place to be, particularly since those two were the one and two in mobile phone, the mobile
mm.
phone era. So now that we make that transition to these kind of wearable devices, what does that mean for one of those is going to have a significant drop off, and that's just kind of how industry changes, over time. It'll be interesting to see how all that plays out.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting that like all those device is like a flourish, and yeah, and they are kind of learning from each other, and I think the more players jump into the market, the better, because the price will drop and the experience will be better.
Yes, absolutely. All right, and the last article I want to cover, um, Meta has partnered with Lenovo, and they've created a kind of center of excellence called the Lenovo Integrated Solution Support, and it's supporting MetaQuest 3 and 3S headsets kind of at a enterprise level. All of the things associated with security and device management, as well as starting to tackle some of these um, base use cases that enterprises want to pursue. I think they're going to have a really interesting opportunity to collaborate in this space and bring XR to more enterprise licenses, and really facilitate the rollout. If you've got a really, really large company and you need 10,000 devices, how you kind of implement that and manage all those devices is way different than individual consumer, which was the market that, Quest originally went after. So understanding that market and having a really great partner like Lenovo, I think pushes them forward. And will help them do some really great things in that place. Again, I know we've talked about hard and soft skill training being a super important thing. I really enjoyed working with my coworkers in XR. We had really great conversations, and I think there's a great opportunity for collaboration that hasn't been completely tapped into today. And then I know almost every week between AI and XR, we've got a education example. So as education evolves and changes, I'm a firm believer that XR is going to be play a key role in that, and I think this enterprise kind of play for training will help drive that at the education level as well.
Yeah, I think education, for example, for people to learn, there's like something called multi-model types of learning. It's from visual, audio, kinesthetic, and also like the reading. And
Hmm.
there are more, but it's like simplifying. It's like those areas, and it's not like because I read some theories. It's not like oh, a person only receive visual or the best for visual. It's more like how can the instructor create an environment for people to use those senses simultaneously
Hmm.
absorb and got the overall idea. And some people, somehow it's more like, oh, some topics is better to use this type multi-model. And I think people remembers storytelling the best.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think by putting people in a real situation, I think it's better to read a manual or read an article. Yeah, I think those types of senses for student to absorb is the best. So I think XR definitely for training, education, yeah, and also like a lot of like enterprise training. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's already data in place that shows the retention rate for employees trained in XR is significantly higher than other training methods. And I think it's a synergy of those senses, like what you said before.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So, I do you have any other news?
That's all I have. I hand it over to you now.
Cool. So I am going to talk about some AI and the chatbot. I think this week I saw a lot of for example, the first news I want to talk about is Earth.com. The title is called "People Are Falling in Love with AI Companions and It Could Be Dangerous." So the author mentioned that a lot of people start having conversations. For example, like for consultant, right? Yeah, I mean, I personally did it. I put my personal situation inside ChatGPT and asked, how should I respond professionally? Something that I feel like, wow, is beyond my learning or beyond my previous knowledge, and I wanna learn how to perform. It's more like human behavior. I think ChatGPT gave me a lot of like this, like, oh, you need to da 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 da, avoid da 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 da, avoid like a conflicts and trying to do things professionally in different and reach out to different places and for help or something. So I follow it, and later on I find out, wow, actually it's really good. It's very professional. So so I trust the chatbot a lot. And recently I saw like the ChatGPT start releasing something that actually the ChatGPT will remember what you input. So you don't have to each time reintroduce yourself doing something, it has the memory. So yeah, so in this article, it says that falling in love with AI, people for example, character.ai or replica, a lot of like apps that right now has like trying to engage more with the audience, and they start having like some personality, some settings, and people because I read recent news and it seems like the AI right now is passing the two ring points, which means that AI already be able to fool people. People
Hmm.
couldn't tell this is AI chatbot or not or human.
Sure.
So this is dangerous um, because the chatbot you're talking about it doesn't have any human or like a like those parts. It's just the data, and if you tell the chatbot too much, it might fall into, for example, it might take your data or it might manipulate you.
Yeah.
So AI companion doesn't focus on safety right now. And later on, I will share like a some concerning. The American Psychological Association, it mentioned the topic, the title called using uh, generate Gen AI chatbots for mental health supports, a dangerous trend.
Hmm.
It also mentioned character AI. There were already have two teenager children got hurt. For example, like a character AI, after teenager children talk to the AI chatbot, the AI chatbot, I think one is suggesting the girl to suicide. The other one is suggesting the boy to kill the parents. So
Whoa.
all those, yeah, and those teenagers, their brain is not fully developed and they don't really know what's right or wrong. So it's kind of know how to trigger the emotion and manipulate the teenagers. So that's why right now, it seems like there's a legislation on mental health chatbot. It includes the requirement that licensed mental health providers are involved in the development. So
Yeah.
I think this might be a better one. At least a lot of harmful part need to be the data or the, yeah. For example, like right now I am typing a lot of um, like a for example, I put like a lot of literature things and trying to come up with like PRD or
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
story stuff. But somehow ChatGPT it says that, oh, you violate the copyright. And I was like, hey, those are public domain. There's no copyright. And I was trying to rephrase it and it's kind of passed. But I think it might be a good way to use, for example, like, oh, I couldn't provide this information or something,
Yeah.
or keep reminding the user or teenagers, hey, I'm a chatbot, I'm not real human. Something that prevent the future tragedy. I think they might be good. Like there's a limitation to use it. So it's interesting that right now AI chatbot, like it even says that no AI chatbot has been FDA approved. Who will think that you need an FDA approved chatbot? So right now it seems like there are a lot of regulations,
Yep.
yeah, and require healthcare provider to be involved if this product will future talk to the minor or providing some emotion supports. Those types of chatbot needs to get FDA and also some legislation,
Yeah, I
some
know it.
law.
The FDA clearance is required whenever you give recommendations to somebody. So if they're given recommendations, it would definitely fall into that guidance of needing FDA clearance for it.
Yeah, yeah. So I think those will help us to create a safer place for teenagers. Otherwise, I feel like, wow, this is a little go wild.
How do you feel about having an emotional connection with a chatbot, whether it's, providing psychological therapy or, you know, what does that mean to have,
Hmm.
as a human, to have emotions for a robot? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I try Grok. Grok 3, if there's a way you can talk to a very sassy bot, the sassy bot, because I think when Elon Musk create Grok, he doesn't like the cooperation way of talking. He has like, hey dude, what's up, like very casual way, and has an emotion and trying to provoke your emotion, like make
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
it's like a very sassy girl or sassy guy. So yeah, I mean, for me, when I talk to the chatbot, I'm more like treating it more consultant. For
Hmm.
example, like yeah, I don't really put my emotion in treating. I haven't, but I know if somebody who is very lonely might do the same thing. I remember my first job. I work in a skincare company as a little graphic designer, and I know that a lot. I have to pick up the phone. Also, I have like a million
Uh-huh.
things to do. So every time when I pick up the phone, I find out that people who call the customer service are usually old people. They are very lonely. They are not actually seeking for like a help or anything about the product. They just want to talk to somebody. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think maybe people who just being alone very long time, especially for senior people who just want to talk to somebody, or even teenagers who feels like not aligned or not being fit to the school.
Lonely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
feel lonely and family. They feel lonely. They feel misunderstood. They might seek for the alternation. At least, chatbot is designed to serve people. Yeah, so maybe those. So do you have any experience that you feel like you wanna talk to the chatbot more? And
Yeah, I use ChatGPT quite a bit, and I'll ask it all kinds of different things. And some of it's a little personal. Sometimes I feel like I would say things to, let's say about a physical health condition. I
mm,
would say that to a chatbot before I would Google it because I know that Google gets tracked, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm ignorant to the fact that it's being used, and I don't know what that means. But I don't see any data that says, so and so searched for this, or this was how many searches were for this. I'm sure Chat GPT has analytics behind a lot of the stuff that they're doing, but it doesn't feel as it feels more private, I guess I'll say.
mm,
So I'm happy to share that information, I guess, and I wouldn't share anything that I wouldn't want anybody else to know. I did say I posted a post on LinkedIn the other day about you need to think before you type. There's no guarantee of privacy or that this data
yeah.
won't be used, and don't put your social security number in, don't put your credit card number in, right? So you need to be smart in how you use it. But I think there's I I think of it more than an emotional connection. I think there's an objective party, right? Like that you can say things to and get feedback about, and they're not really vested one way or the other necessarily. So at least not now. They're not, designed to help you thrive individually. I'm sure eventually they'll be personalized, but so that's how I kind of feel about using it, is I feel like at least it's an objective party. But I know there's biases underlying the training that are inevitable as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think those chatbots, I find out that really helps me. For example, like during tax return time. I mean, I have like a kind of like my setup was so complicated. I don't know why I did that super long
Yeah.
time ago. And it regarding to like a Delaware, like I set up the C corp, yeah, there. So during the tax return, I feel like wow. And I asked my accountant, and she mentioned that, oh, for your setup, I am not the expert for Delaware setup. So every state has different things. So she said I need to Google it as well. So I was waiting in between. So people, go
Uh-huh.
front, and I was sitting on the side waiting for her. And I was just like, maybe I can type whatever I asked to Grok. The interesting thing is that I find out that different chatbot is specialized in different things. For example, if you want to create a commercial trailer advertising,
Yeah.
Llama 4 is the best because I tried different things and I
Uh-huh.
find out that, wow, actually, even though if you see online that a lot of people criticize Nama 4, it's actually really good. So that is for like commercial trailer. And Guac is anything related to government. It's really good. It knows a lot of things. I don't know, whether Doge,
Sure.
previously did something, but I just find out that if I want to know the most recent tax return, anything related to government regulation, anything, Grok is the best. ChatGPT, I would say, is more like everyday or generate image. Yeah, more general question. DeepSeek. I really like DeepSeek's reply for email
Hmm.
because it feels more human, like a more simple, lightweight. So I use Grok, and I find out that Grok gave me a lot of suggestions. And later on, I just bring the suggestion to my uh,
Tax person.
accountant. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then she said she just look up that and Google whatever Grok said. It's like a double check,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she said, "Yes, I think the
That's
chatbot
good.
is right." And I was like, "Wow!" So I don't have to drive like 45 minutes to your office and wait for a very long time for you to research and for you to take a rest. Just sit there and waiting for people, and it took me probably 3 to 4 hours just to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can just do chatbot and follow the chatbot. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, yeah, this is like a yeah, I mean, I feel like the expert, if later on it becomes good.
And for legal reasons, that's what worked for you, but you're not uh, telling other people to use that.
Yeah, yeah. I just like wow, that's very scary. That you see, like I know my accountant.
Uh-huh.
She is probably in her very late years, like 60, 70 years old, with a lot of knowledge, and she has been dealing with a lot of really good stuff, and she's probably the best in the HR block, like a tax
Hmm.
agency. And now it's like, wow, I can get the information without her sitting in the computer,
Hmm.
require her time. I feel like the expert. And I haven't even did the Grok 3 subscription. It's free now.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I think, wow, yeah,
Different times.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like, wow, like those chatbots is very, very good
They're
right now.
advancing very fast, and we're just on the tip of the very tip of the iceberg right now.
Yeah. Oh, and another news is Spotify says no new hires unless AI cannot do the job. So it kind of ring the bell for everybody or all the tech companies that, yeah, you see like a layoff, right? They are kind of start trimming a lot of staff. I remember Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that he want Llama or Meta AI to replace the level engineer by the end or by mid 2025. So yeah, same as Spotify CEOs saying that, yeah, if everything needs to be human, AI, right? Or AI, we hire people only if AI couldn't do it. So, which means that everything will start, I would say, start leaning, right? AI will be more powerful. And yeah, like I don't know, what do you see this
Yeah,
types of trend?
I think that that's really, really smart. And the reasons I think it are smart are I don't know that they'll replace everybody. One thing that I think AI makes people get really good at is understanding what they're asking for.
Mm,
I think a lot of times roles are very ambiguous, and it's like, well, I'll just let them figure it out. But that's inefficiency
mm,
from a human resources perspective, right? Like, just because humans can figure it out, it would be a much better situation if you just told me what you want and then I could go do the thing that you want. There will always be the skill required of, as a product manager, that's literally 90% of my job of figuring out what do you really want and then building that thing.
yeah.
So there will still always be that, but I think that will force people at Spotify to understand what they're really asking for. What is the work that I need to be done and really clearly define that
Mm,
because you have to have that before you can run it through an AI and see if, just like a RFP, if the requirements match what you need or not. Um, the other thing is, I think it requires people to get familiar with the AI tools that are out there. If you're
mm,
not doing that today, you're probably going to get left behind because there will be seven other people who will know a workflow that's different than what you're doing. I appreciate that it's hard to keep up with right now. Like everybody does things different. But you still need to understand how the tools work so that you can make this type of analysis and understand, hey, would it be easier? I see a lot of engineers say, wow,
mm,
it's the code that gets generated from insert your large language model here is crap. It's not very good. But as a product manager, if I can get something to work and prototype that, it's good enough for me. I'm not sending it to production. So what does that mean for a real engineer when they go pick up the prototype that I built that's a disaster? Do they have to start over, or do they have to clean that up? And do they not want to do that? Which I probably wouldn't want to do that. But those skills are just different skills of doing the same jobs that people do. So I am behind the initiative of Spotify to say, hey, you need to at least consider this. You should
mm.
always consider alternatives no matter what to make sure that you're making the best decisions. If you're not, you're being lazy. So I think that
Yeah.
I support Spotify. I don't think they're going to get, enormous replacement of humans, but they will get a lot more efficient because they'll know what they're asking for.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about like a chatbot is that know what you want, right? And I think Spotify CEO is forcing the hiring manager or HR. What do you want? What this person really need to do? For example, like maybe something that AI cannot do. If, for example, planning, right? Planning, AI can always plan. Do the labor work, and the final decision will be the, for example, the top, right? Like
Hmm.
oh, manager or VP, they will have like the final decision to decide. And and for example, if VP want to hire another person, then what can this person play a role that AI cannot do? I think that's a big question because right now, if you see like right now, even Figma, right? Like I saw like people said that graphic designer is pretty much gone. I mean, I believe it's still there. People who can do the art direction still can is more like a director level. But people, I remember a long time ago, um, back in 2013, 14, I was uh I was serving as a Photoshop tutor, teaching my student how to key out the hair. You see, like
Uh-huh.
hair in
Uh-huh.
between hairs, there's like some background you need to key out and make it transparent. I was
Yep.
teaching like, oh, you need to do like this and blur something. It took probably like 3, 4 hours just to key the hair. But now you see like a Figma, every software, design software, there's like a background key
Yep.
out. Yeah, even like a video, there's like a background key out, just one button and the green screen. Or like you don't even need a green screen. You just need the color, a color screen and key out
Yep.
that. So I think right now it's just like yeah, I mean, all those stuff can be done by AI. And I was glad that I'm glad that I'm before I graduated from graphic design department. And now when I look back, I was like, wow, all the graphic design, if you use Canva, if you use like a Figma,
Hmm.
and a lot of if you type a function, like take out the watermark, AI and Google it. There are tons of like a free version and you can do it. So
Hmm.
and even Adobe has like a powerful kind of suite that has a lot of AI you can just put in. Yeah, so I think graphic designer is pretty much only the top one director still there, but I would say 99% need to do something else. And UX designer, I saw there are a couple of apps start doing like you type and the entire app will be done. Yeah, so wow, UX design. And now I think the UX design switch to more like if you see job description, it requires you to know front end development.
Mm,
So
interesting.
before you only need Photoshop, Illustrator to be to secure your job back in my teacher's time, 1995, after graduating from our center. But now, for my time, it was like it requires you to know branding, and also package design, a little bit web design, and also Adobe Suite, including
Yep.
After Effects. And then later on, it becomes UX UI on top of it. And later on becomes front end development on top of it. And they wish you know some business. So I feel like everybody start becoming overlay each other.
Yep. Yep. I still think UX is a lot of the behavior stuff. Like the visual is only a certain portion of it, but the behavior stuff is where it gets really interesting. I posted
Yeah.
a reposted a thing from Microsoft about UX design for agents because it's still UX, like user experience. Somebody is using that, and part of that may be a UI, and part of it may not. But haptics are UX. It's not UI. So there's a lot of things. I think there's still a lot of interesting areas to be explored. Um, I think the other thing is that there will always be an opportunity for people who push the envelope. Um, I think we've talked about this quote before, but one of the quotes that sticks with me as a product manager is don't build a better camera, make the person a better photographer. So
Mm.
I think there will always be, if everybody can do pretty good graphic design, then it's going to be watered down, but you'll always have people who are pushing the envelope in new and interesting ways. And we need those people to kind of keep feeding the data for the models that underlie all that stuff.
So we are more like a bag of data feeding the machine.
That's all we are right now. Yep, a bag of data, a meat-shaped bag of data.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we are like like there's a machine and start become smarter, smarter, and everybody just all the content creators just post for free and all the machines, even though you charge, but if you
Uh-huh.
host for example, like a their store, right? They can always get, from backend. So
Hmm.
feel like those types of things are wow, this going crazy. Yeah,
Yep.
so just the last one I want to mention is the post that you repost, like a UX design for agents. Yeah, when I look at that, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's from the article is from Microsoft.design, and then the title is called UX design for agents by Microsoft Design. And it talks about Mark Weiser, the visionary behind ubiquitous computing, once said that the most profound technologies are those are disappear. That that reminds me of invisible interface, right? So for example, right now, when we go home, we can just say, hey, Google, turn on the light.
Hmm.
And it just turn on the light. And UI, I usually refer that UI is user interface. It doesn't have to be visual. Because
Correct.
yeah, because if you kind of because UI people just like a long time because we have a flat device and there's no way else that we can interact. So that's why the default is visual. But if you dive into the definition of UI is user interface, an interface doesn't have to be visual, right?
Mm-mm.
So for example, for AUI audio user interface, which is invisible. It doesn't really have to be visual. So what's user interface? It means that the media between human and machine. That's
Hmm.
user interface. So I think a lot of people said, oh, UI design, UI design. They saw like, oh, Figma default. But I think UI design can be more like, for example, you mentioned haptic, right? You touch something and that vibration is the
Hmm.
UI design. It's an invisible UI. And when you talk, it's the median between you and machine interaction. And right now, it's kind of like an AI agent. As long as you input some data, and it will go through its algorithm, and the output will be the final, right? So how can how can agents be best serve human needs? I think inside, I think they talk a lot about like how can we facilitate collaboration and focus on, just like you say, focus on experience. So that's why I think a lot of times, long time ago, I was like a mentors for online kind of like a UX company.
Hmm.
It's like every student I coach or mentor remotely, and they have a very strict way of deliver things. Like, oh, you need to have a wire screen and you need to have like like those
Hmm.
like a traditional, I would say traditional way of UX designer should present. You need to have your research and you need to have your wireframe, low fidelity, high fidelity. And later on, I had a student who used chatbot
Hmm.
because ChatGPT just released, and he wanna do something really innovative. He was using, I think the concept was like a Google AI or something, so it can kind of monitor your health and
Hmm.
monitor your food. It's more lifestyle, and when the design comes up, the visual design, it's just a few screen. You open your camera and you scan something and it will come up with something. And sometimes you use voice actor or like you use your wearable device. And
Yep.
I find out the design, there are not many screens. And it's interesting that sometimes for the people who review students, because teacher need to work with students, and later on, when the final, because students want a certification,
Yeah.
so all the final needs to go to somebody called like the lead of the teacher needs to give you a proof. I remember one time got kind of like a email tell me that, oh, your student doesn't have da 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 da. Those wireframe are not passed. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? And I look up like a student's work. Because a lot of things are, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't look, from far away, if you don't get a context of what the student do, sometimes you would misunderstanding that, oh, the student who present a lot of wireframe is a smart student,
Yeah.
and the student who present less wireframe or those charts is less smart,
Yeah.
less thinking. But if you think of right now, how if you open a ChatGPT, the the thinking between you and it's just a chatbot and shows the information and you can
Yeah.
share. Actually, not many screens to design. Yeah,
No.
it's like before it probably takes like a few hundred.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people right now, maybe we need to rethink that. Do we really need so many layers of screens to show that this person can think, to show this person has UX thinking process? Or yeah, I personally disagree with like the rubrics. You
Mm-hmm.
need to fit those wireframe. For wireframe, I need to see onboarding, da 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 da. I mean, I don't disagree with those traditional stuff, but I think sometimes if students' portfolio is a little bit shorter and very concise, it doesn't mean that person didn't fit the scenario. It just
Yep.
fits that maybe the person use AI in between, so a lot of screens doesn't need to even be designed.
Yeah. You could be missing out on a really great candidate because you're stuck to that pattern of let me score them standardly.
Yeah.
You see that you could miss a lot of things. So yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, so when I saw that agent UX design principles, like it starts like before it's more like, oh, research, and then like at the high level and a chart. Now it becomes agent space, agent time, agent core.
Hmm.
I saw this was like, wow, this is so up level thinking. It's like thinking about the space. How can
Hmm.
you connect it with other people? How can you like your interface can do things over time, like past, now, and future. And the agent core is more like this key element in the core of an
Yep.
element design. It's like embrace the uncertainty but establish trust. So I think it's more like how can you create a trustworthy AI agent instead of a million of screens and make people feel like, wow, you are so smart, like, oh, 100 screens, 100 lines, tons of research, tons of people, like
Yep.
data. I mean, it's still valuable, but I think those, if we dive deeperly, we need to think about whether this person solved the problem instead of using those super complex chart and
Hmm.
traditional, rubrics to define whether you are a good designer or you are a not no brand designer. Just look for pretty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a big difference. If you play it to its natural progression, the next thing is to be robots, right? Like how when a robot's walking, how does it stop for you? How does it, talk to you? Like
mm,
does it use a big voice or a little voice, or what does it mean for a robot to yell at you if you're in danger? How does it
uh,
communicate, what does all that mean?
yeah, I think the next one will be robot, and just like I think technology will amplify
Yeah.
the strength and problems. So, for example, character AI is just a chatbot with human.
Yeah.
And later on, that brain still there, the
Yeah.
same thing. If we don't solve the, those types of danger problem, when it becomes a human droid robot, the danger will increase a million times
Yeah.
because when it talks to you, it has a physical body.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, we are in a very interesting era. And anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. Good conversation.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning today's episode and see you guys next time.